Hello and welcome to Fire in the Belly. Today we have myself, Mighty Pete, and we are joined by the James McGrath. Good afternoon, James.
Hello, Pete. Thank you so much for inviting me onto this Fire in the Belly podcast. I've been anticipating this. I'm looking forward to seeing what we talk about. So, and I hope and look forward to hearing the feedback as well. And I know all podcasts are a big thing now. So, to hear the feedback and see what people get from this podcast and any podcast as well, it's wonderful to see that the podcasts are moving forward now, and you've interviewed so many people, and it's a privilege to be one of those people as well. So thank you so much.
No, listen, thank you, James. Man, it's always great, and like I say, I've been looking forward to this. So it's always fun when you sort of know the guest. I don't know your full story, and hopefully we'll learn more about it here. But just
Yes.
seeing a lot of things you're involved in. So first of all, tell us, James, who are you? What do you do, and where are you from?
Yeah, so I'm from a wee place outside Lurgan, which is called Golly's Gate on the shores of Loch Ness. I've been living there for many years now, but I'm actually moving to Monaghan because that's where my fiance is from. So I've been helping people for many years now. I've always been wanting to help people emotionally and with their life. I used to be a teaching assistant years ago in a school, and then I was made redundant, and then I went through just certain challenges in life, and then I was aligned to a guy called Stevie J, and Declan Loy had seen a video I posted up on Facebook from a platform that I began back in 2016, which was it's a platform called Passing Through. So a lot of things have, as you say, I'm involved with many different things. Some people know me from dancing, jiving. I teach jiving, but also I'm a mentor, and I help people through their emotions. And then also I'm part of a program called Super You, and we go into the schools and we teach children all about their emotions, all about dreams and possibilities and opportunities. And I guess where I'm at in my life now, it's because I said yes to an opportunity. I'm actually in the room where that opportunity came about, and I had to move away from unconscious fears. And thankfully, I said yes. And by saying yes in that moment, about 4 or 5 years ago now, it'll be 5 years coming. A lot of things have changed and transformed in my life just by making that one decision, and I'm very thankful. And even now, making that decision, I've been invited on to the Fire in the Belly podcast, because years ago, I did put myself off from living and living a life of happiness and joy, and I used to be very closed away. But then by saying yes to opportunities and breaking through the fears and the barriers, it's led to many different opportunities, and I'm very thankful for that. So that's yeah.
So it sounds, there's been a massive shift, right, in the last 5 years.
Even before that too. So some people know my story from the Passing Through page, and then a lot of clients. I see clients more as friends, and a lot of people would know the story that at the age of 22, I got to a point in my life where I wanted to die. I wanted to end my own life. So I got to a point, I was actually in Bundoran, Rogie. I don't know if you've ever been around there, but it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful location around Bundoran, County Donegal. And there was so much things that were going on from a young age and right into teenage life. And then when I was 22, I wanted to jump off the cliff, and I didn't. I chose to live. And then from that, a lot of things came about, and I was then on a healing journey and a spiritual journey and a growth journey. And now a lot of things have came through that. From even sharing that story, that's how the Passing Through page came about. I wanted to share a story and help as many people as possible. And a lot of things have came from that. So, I'm a great believer that all of us, all human beings, we go through a certain level of pain and discomfort and challenges and fears and worries and doubt. And then this fuels our passion to lead or to move forward and to break through things that maybe some people might say not to do. And by putting that video up online, a lot of things came from that. And that was me taking a leap of faith.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful and blessed for that.
Are you clear the reason why you jumped and didn't jump?
Yeah, so it's as clear now as it was back then. I remember specifically looking down and having this flashing moment of just jumping. What's the point of living? And in that moment, I found my heartbeat. I just looked. I almost grabbed myself and falling, and I just had this moment of finding my heartbeat, and it was almost like, I don't know if anybody's ever watched the Mr. Bean movie, but it reminded me at the end of the Mr. Bean movie, one of the girls there's an accident and she has to be resuscitated. Boom. And it was almost like this, my resuscitation. It was like, it almost like captivated me into life. And I just remember like this peace and calmness over me, as if, all is well, like an inner voice going, you're here, you have a purpose. I didn't know what the purpose was. But I now I do know. But back then, I just went, well, I'm going to decide to live now. And it was just that moment of a decision making. And thankfully, through that, intervention, divine intervention, or I was captivated to live. And thankfully, now from that, I've done many wonderful things and helped people to do wonderful things. And I now have a beautiful fiance who supports and backs me every step of the way, and a loving family. So, looking back now, it's a part of my journey, and I'm willing to share that journey, because maybe someone out there needs to find their own heartbeat. Maybe someone out there, is busy in the mind and, sometimes emotionalize things and wants to give up. Maybe not to the level of giving up completely and end their life, but sometimes on their dream or their goal or their vision, or starting up a podcast or traveling the world, just, we all have a heartbeat and it's beating, and we're here and we're alive, and we must make good use of the time that we're here, and that's what I got from that experience. And that was just one experience that led me to this point in my life,
Are you where you're supposed to be now, do you think?
Absolutely. There's obviously places where I want to go. Sure. In the future, but yeah, I'm very content and very there's been loads of things that we've been involved with, that I personally have been involved with individually, but then as a collective group. And I can actually say it safely now that I had two situations in my life. One where I wanted to die, and I chose to live. And then back in 2019, we were doing a live event here in Armagh, and a drunk driver broke a red light, and my car rolled off the road several times, and I wasn't in control of the car. And so I was at a point at 22 years of age, wanting to die and then deciding to live. Now I'm at an age where, where the car's rolling off the road, where I wanted to live, and I didn't have a choice in the matter. Thankfully, God, life, universe, spirit, people looking after me, prayer, I lived. And it was a very profound experience, because that particular day, the medics actually called me Miracle Man. They said I shouldn't have lived, and I did. So I've been through both ways. I've been through where I wanted to die, and choosing to live, and also I didn't have a control of whether I was going to live or not. And that then has helped me to back more passion for life, more fuel for life, and to help people to live out their life, in the way that is from love, is from passion, is from their spirit and their true essence and their authenticity. And that, challenges come, obstacles come, and it's what we would train people to, and train myself. I train myself every day, is to even say yes to the challenges, because they're here to help us grow. And having that mindset, having that attitude is my saving grace, because communicating that way has helped me to come through a lot of challenges, especially those two.
Do you think those challenges, you almost past a point of elasticity? It's just, there's no going back. You see something you've never seen, you experience something you've never experienced, and that is a life-changing moment, literally.
Yeah, literally life-changing moment. We all have different life-changing moments. It could be someone breaking up with you. It could be someone leaving you. It could be, so we had 3 months ago, we buried our mum. My mum died at 60 years of age. And these life-changing moments, they change us in some way. they give us a lesson in some way. And sometimes we may be busy in the mind that we're not really able to see it, but this is where perception comes into play, and then questioning comes into play, and acceptance and allowing the process. Life, sometimes we're trained through the school system that everything's all good, and we're trained on memory, and life's going to be wonderful. You want to get a job, and you're going to find love, and yes, all those things happen, but we're not really taught that through the process. I thought that my mom would live forever, in the physical presence. She's definitely here in the spirit, of course. But, that's why we do the Super U. We're going into the schools and we're teaching kids to become flexible in the mind, that life is a short period of time. Say, for example, the average person lives to 100 years of age. Well, in the context of the universe, stars are there for billions of years, so it's a short life, but we can live a long life, living a life of joy, of happiness, of challenges, of obstacles. And for me, life is about embodying it all, encompassing it all, and then moving forward with the narrative that you want to tell about the situation, because we get to choose. we get to choose, and that's the beauty about life, is that we have an inner muscle, which is your reason faculty, which is your choice muscle. We get to choose the script every day. Every day we get to choose. And that's something that I've been accustomed to and conditioning every day. Because, when mum passed into the spiritual sense, because she's not here, don't see her, can't touch her, can't hold her, but I feel her presence. And even on this podcast, I feel her presence, and she's guiding me every day. For me, it's like, everything happens for you, not to you. Everything's happening for you. And I would be very accustomed to language, and I do my best to be a language expert for myself. And one of the, Northern Irish or Irish tradition is, sorry for your loss, sorry for your loss. And the amount of times I heard that, and people do it for connection, of course. And but really for me, I'm thankful for the gain, like mum's here and more now than ever before, fueling me to move forward, giving me that energy to live my life, because she had a good life, but then she suffered towards the end. But for me, it's like, we need to look at our language, and what we communicate to each other. Some people communicate because it's a condition and it's a habit over hundreds of years, specifically that type of phrase, sorry for your loss. Whereas for me, I've gained so much wisdom, knowledge, healing, comfort. It was painful. Sometimes I'm in grief, I'm crying, I'm cleansing, but it's more of a gain now, and it feels like, I remember Stevie, you had Stevie on a few weeks ago, and I remember Stevie saying to me years ago, he said to me, he looked me in the eye, he says, James, passion is born out of pain and pleasure. And that really, it was like the cogs in the machine, the cogs in the mind, so my passion is born from pain and pleasure. And for me, the way I observe life is, that's the same with everybody. There's not one human being who hasn't been through pain. All of us have in some way, and it feels us more to give more, to contribute more, to live more, to let go more, and to just to be ourselves. And it's really important to be us, and that's basically what the journey has led me to be on.
And there's that expression, from your darkest hour comes, sometimes your brightest moments. Do you think there's mileage in that statement?
Absolutely. Like, we would use the terminology, the statement, the opposite of depression is expression, and everything is energy. So I would say to some of my clients, sometimes it's not the demonized fear, because on the challenging emotions, we have to be reality thinkers. If you have to cry, you have to cry. We were doing a lot of crying up at the top of the mountains. We were climbing the 4 highest peaks of the 4 provinces of Ireland. I was crying like a baby, and for me, I went through the positive thinking and the personal development industry many years ago. But there's a few myths in the personal development industry, be positive, be positive, be positive, be positive. Well, that's like driving your car in 5th or 6th gear. Burn out. And I burnt out many times. And I had a lot of emotional cars that I burnt out. Where for what I believe and what I'm all about and what we are all about is to be a reality thinker and to call a spade a spade. And if you have emotions, is to express those. It's not to demonize them, it's to explore them, to express them. And then you're really activating your being, you're really activating courage within you. I'd be big into words, as I say, and I would digest words, and in the word courage, you have age at the end of it. So it doesn't matter what age you are, we must express from a level of courage to go, you know what, I'm just going to be me, or I'm free to be me, and I'm going to do the things that are matched with the good that I desire, and also the desire for others as well. So yeah, that's the crack with in relation to that. It's been an amazing journey so far. I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds, which is a beautiful thing. I remember you said to me when we were doing this, and even before we started this, you said, your podcasts are like a blank script, you just don't know where your podcasts go. And that's what life is about. Sometimes we plan, but plans don't always go to plan. And that's the beauty about life. And it's about being flexible, and that we all must apply those guiding principles, because sometimes we construct in our minds how tomorrow is going to go, and we set plans, and tomorrow will go well and we will live well, but you might fall down a shock like I done on Sunday. I fell down into a swamp hole up a mountain called Morail in County Westport, and we had planned the Super U Challenge, the 4 Peak Challenge, for many months, and I had it in my head celebrating at the top of the mountain with everybody. That didn't transpire because I had to go back to the bus. But an individual is defined by accepting what is, and going, letting go of the ego and the mind, and going, well, I have to go back to the bus. And me falling down the hole, the swamp hole, actually led to so much other connections that I met. I met loads of people on the beach when I got down to the bus, and it's all part of the plan. And I think for us as human beings, all of us, and everyone listening, for me, if I had any advice for anybody, is the ability to accept what is, accept what is, because that's really important in life. That's my advice for today.
I mean, what I'm sort of hearing through these experiences, that the ability, I mean, the energy is contained in the experience, but actually it's the way in which that energy is transposed. So is it a negative, is it a positive, or does it carry any energy at all? And how you carry that is how you perform thereafter, right? So you've taken negative experiences, and through a journey, you've been able to stand on the shoulders of those experiences. Is that a fair summary?
Absolutely. Yeah. For me, I learned through the process of training here was, the story that we tell. Top order is top story. And when it's really to do with perceptions. Is it negative? Is it positive? Now there's things that happen in our lives, of course, but we get to identify whether those things are negative or positive. And we actually get to communicate that through internal dialogue or external expression. So for us, it's like, was mum dying at 60 years of age negative? Well, maybe to some people who can't maybe really accept the journey or maybe understand it. We're all at different stages, I'm just at a stage now where I'm really a guardian of my mind, because I see the mind as like a garden, and we must protect our garden. We must protect, because when weeds come in, and weeds are so subtle, weeds can be like language, behavior patterns, labeling, and you can see it now more so now than ever, because social media and television. It's almost, I was saying this to a fella up the mountain the other day, it's almost like we as human beings, we as a human race are being conditioned to this ideology or this mindset of perfection, that everything must be perfect, that everything must be this way, and you must have white teeth and you must look good. We all look good, and people have to change their face to look good. Well, you're born with an amazing face. Some people are actually changing their vocal cords, like they're getting their voice boxes changed to change their voice. and all of these things I'm hearing now, but we're all gifted with a life, and then we're conditioned away from that life. It's mad when you think about it, because of, and it's not point blaming anybody, because it is what it is, of course, but we all have to have a level of, well, let's go back to our own true nature. Let's strip it back to how we want to feel. How do I want to feel? And then communicating that out to the world, your world and my world. And it's a wonderful journey knowing that, like, the power of language. I would be big into language, as I say, and I'm training every day, and there's language that we need to look after and look out for, like should, would, could, might. When we live in language and attitude of certainty, then we make better decisions. I would read a lot as well, and I used to be told that I was a terrible reader, because I didn't do really well in school in comparison to others. And I know it's not good to compare and contrast, but reality is I was below class average in a lot of my school life, and that's why we want to change the school system. We want to help the school system to know, like, even if you're below class average, you still have creative essence within you. It doesn't mean you're stupid, It doesn't mean that you're not going to go anywhere. Some of the most successful people I know, who not just have done well in life in relation to wealth. I believe the true wealth is what you do with your wealth and who you be with your wealth and how you contribute. It's who you be with your money. It's who you be in your business. I've had many bosses in the past, and it's who the boss bees with everybody else. For me, like, I've got the point in my life where communicating more from love, of happiness, of joy, of unity, because we're all I would say this too, Pete. I said this in my live video. I would do live videos and pass them through, and it is true. I call a spade a spade. Like, we were all born butt naked. Like, I know your mind works in pictures, but that's the truth. We were born with no clothes on our back. We weren't even born with a name. That's in itself a label and something to identify. You're Pete and I'm James, right? But we're just beings having an experience, And sometimes, for me, labels then command control, and sometimes that can disconnect people from living, because you have to be called this or you have to do this. You just have to be. Just be free with nature and be free, and that's where I'm now at my stage of my life, is going through challenges, going through heartaches, going through situations that were out of my control, but I was in control of the situation. And now I'm just free, and I'm free to be me. And I've got a point in life. I really don't really have any fears, fears as such. Fears will come. I was fearing the other day going down the swamp hole, but with the tools and techniques, being able to change my body language, being able to change my mindset, being able to change the narrative, and my body and my language, that helped me to overcome the fear, So that's where I'm at in my life. And then we help people to do that, adults and also children. And we have a big mission. Like, our mission is, we're all on a mission. Like, your mission to these podcasts and everything you're doing, you were saying you've interviewed loads of people, hundreds of people, and you're dealing with all these different people. And it's good to hear that, because everybody has a story or stories. And I'm a great believer that really what human beings really connect with is really stories. Or you can go back to the biblical terms and call them parables, really, stories. And it's like 100 years time, 200 years time, God knows, maybe someone was talking about the podcast with Pete and James and the fire in the valley. You know what I mean? You just don't know the legacy that you can leave behind. We just don't know the power of words. We just don't know the power of action. And we can make a decision today that can change 1,000 to 2,000 people's lives or more. And that's the power that we all possess, which is amazing. And we're really, really, really in a very profound time, I believe. where people are waking up to their, because people have been conditioned away from living. And then I think because of the whole thing that's happened in the lockdown, I think people have been exploring more and getting out more into nature and connecting more with themselves and reading and looking in within themselves, because the busyness slowed down and everyone had to recalculate their life, and again, everything that's happened up until this point has happened for us. Everything has happened for us up until this point. And that mentality and that reality then makes you go for the next step forward, and that's the crack.
There's so much there. How would you describe who you are today?
That's an excellent question. Who I am today, I'm a man who's I'm an emotional being. I love emotions. I love to be vulnerable. I love to be stripped back. I love authenticity. I love to be authentic. Because some people say I love to be me. Well, what does that mean? You know what I mean? I love to be me. Well, that's different from different people, because some people throw litter out of the window in their brand new Range Rover. Well, that's not really true success, is it? Because you're littering the earth. You know what I mean? Whereas for me, I'm all about preserving nature. This year, I planted my first ever vegetables on a scale that I never done before, and to see a wee small seed grow into, like I planted tomatoes, sweet corn, peas, broccoli, and to be able to bring the process through and then have it on your dinner table, it's a beautiful, wonderful thing, so I love looking at things from a sense of, from the growth stage right up to the development stage, and then from the end stage. And I'm talking in relation to vegetables and plants, but also people's lives and dreams, and seeing people go from, like, we've witnessed people go from jail, prison, to going to setting up their businesses and having multiple businesses. We've seen people who have had the challenges of trying to have babies, and then be able to relax their mind and to put up a new idea in their mind, into their awareness and their being, because they really love it. They would really love babies, and I'd have babies, and to see that journey, it's the most amazing job. I say the word job, but I call it more of a mission, a passion, and that's the calling that I'm on. So that's where I'm at the minute. And that's who I want to be, is someone who contributes more to life and to living, but also to my own life, because we're all living in our own worlds and we all want to live and do well. Everybody wants to do well. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to achieve something, whatever it is. It could be anything. And it's about moving forward with the things that we truly, really, truly desire. And that's good. I remember years ago, Pete, being put off from actually wanting things, because sometimes we're trained to be an employee, and follow the system. And then I broke away from that system and I became an entrepreneur, and I know that's a name, that's a label as well, but I became my own boss, and that then created a level of freedom, and then I was free to make better decisions, because I wasn't under someone, physically. I'm under the protection and the guidance now of my mum and God or universe or divine. I know these are all names in itself and labels in itself, but there is an energy, and so there's an energy and power so powerful that's beyond ourselves right now. And I've witnessed it. Like, I've literally witnessed it. Just to share with you, we were going up the mountain the other day, and I was crying. I was really, really in pain, And I had fell the day before. I'd fallen down, sleeved onward. It was raining. We'd done 2 mountains in one day, and I was going up a place called Carntoohill, which is the highest peak in Ireland. And I was on my own. Some of the walkers were away in front of me. People were behind me. And I just had this voice of my mum singing to me, and I swear, I could have swore she was there. And I was like, is this in my mind? And then it was everywhere. And it was like so distinct. It was so distinct. And at that time I was being challenged, and that helped me get a foot forward. So sometimes we don't see the magic in life because our minds are so busy. Sometimes we don't witness, like it's magic that we're here. There's magic in your eyes and my eyes, and people listening to this, there's magic in them. But sometimes we're conditioned away from that magic through sugar, through processed food, through reality TV, which is trash TV, because some of the stuff isn't reality at all. It's scripted to make people feel dumb and numb. That would be my belief of the situation. And some people are just living in that life, and that's comfortable for them. But there's so much magic. Like if you can move your hand, you can make stuff, you can create stuff. If you can see, you can see a new idea. If you can hear, you can hear a new idea. If you can express, we have a tongue, we can speak, we can lift people up. We have the power. Every single person. I say we because it's all of us. All of us, we possess a power to lift people's vibration, including ourselves. Your words can either be uplifting or demoting, whatever we want to choose. I've had people who try to demote people. I've tried to demote people myself in the past because I wasn't always the best person in the room. I've criticized people, I've blamed people, I've ridiculed people, and we must know that, because sometimes I am a great believer that sometimes people want to live a life of performance, like a facade, like a persona in Latin means mask, and it's just about being real, being real and being true and being guided with what's coming to you to do and say. And that's where I'm at in my life, and that's who I'm being more so now. So I trust that answers your question.
It does. I'm curious, I mean, who you are today, do you think, is there a gap between who you are and who you truly are? Your true self?
I'm just my true self. I do sometimes, so I understand what they're saying. I do my best just to be me in every single way. Now, every day is different. Every day presents different challenges. And for everybody watching this, like we all have different people we hang about with. We all have different, so I'm on Facebook, we all have different personalities. We all have different characters, but really sometimes then we live those characters, and you're someone else to someone else, or you have an online persona, and then you have an offline persona. And I used to live that life where it was not that it was fake, but you're almost playing up to the screen. Whereas now, like, I've just surrendered to that, and I just be me, because like, if you can't be you, if I can't be me, then you can't be you. Like, the truth of the reality is being yourself, going with what sings from your heart to do and say and be. And it's conditioning this, it's going through this on a constant basis. And I've done work on myself. I always encourage people to do work on themselves, to listen to podcasts, to read books, to invest in a mentor, or to invest in a webinar or a retreat or a seminar, to go, because I see this coming in, which is brilliant, especially in this part of the world, whereas before people would have said, it's a bit of a cult, Well, the word cult comes from culture, right? And it's important to be part of a culture. And that would be my idea. I heard that recently, and it's really important to be a part of a culture that you want to be part of, and moving forward with that culture. And we can all be part of different cultures, but really collectively in one umbrella, we're all part of the same song. Because if we go back to the words in Latin, universe, when we strip it down, uni means one, and verse means song, one song. So we're really all in harmony with each other. Now, will there be a bum note? Absolutely. Will the clarinet not perform that day? Yes, of course it won't. but we're all on the same plane. We're all on the same plane of creation, which is the physical creation here now. And we get to choose every day how to live our lives, and that's where I'm at now with my life.
Have you been this version of you before, do you think, in your life?
Not to this point. No. I've evolved, expanded. I refer back to, he's a mentor, but he's also a friend and a colleague of mine, because we all have mentors. We should all have mentors. Even mentors should have mentors. You know what I mean? People should always have people to seek counsel and question and get advice from. And Stevie said to me before, you know, life isn't all about life. He said to me, the answer isn't to crawl safely to your grave. You know, the answer is to live. And that really just spoke to me in that moment. You know, when you think about it, the answer isn't to crawl safely to your grave. So for me, like, years ago, I was crawling safely to my grave. You know, I was living a different life than what you see now and what maybe people perceive me to be living now. Absolutely, I was living a life of mediocrity, mediocre. I remember listening to Michael Burnett Beckwith. Stevie had brought Michael Burnett Beckwith over. He was in the movie The Secret, and Stevie and Declan Lloyd both brought him over. They used to do big seminars. They brought over like the Bob Proctors, Michael Burnett Beckwith, and all these guys. And I remember listening to Michael Burnett Beckwith, and he said that people who have made an agreement with living a mediocre life will attack people who are trying to do big things. So I used to live a mediocre life, and I used to attack people who were doing big things. I used to be criticizing people. I used to ridicule people for buying the houses or having the car, because I was living at a drama level. And that was a reflection on where I was at, you know, and I see that in people as well. Whatever energy we give out is really a reflection of how we're feeling inside. So to answer your question, yes, I've definitely moved forward and expanded. And Stevie had said to me a few years ago, he says, it's like the light bulb. So you can go to the shop and you can get a 50-watt light bulb, you know, and that will perform at a 50-watt. But the energy doesn't care, because we can go to the shop and get a 150-watt light bulb. Once you plug it in, it will illuminate the room at 150. So when I look at my life, and to answer your question, years ago, I was doing well with the resources that I possessed and was trained to. And then I learned more stuff, of course, and I'm still learning. So right now I'm at 150. I used to be 50, and now I'm at 150, and God knows where I will go to from there, and illuminate from there. But if anybody, people listening to this, look at your own life and go, like, what capacity do you want to live? You know, what light bulb do you want to tune into? Because the energy, the source does not care. It doesn't. You know, people, which one's true? Like, I'm stupid or I'm amazing. Both are true. Whatever you emotionalize, it's going to be this. It's going to be the same thing, because the energy doesn't care. The unconscious mind, whatever you feed your unconscious mind, as we were speaking about earlier about the unconscious, that's what's going to come about, because that's what you're feeding. So for us, you know, what do you want to feed your mind? You know, I'm wealthy or I'm poor. Now, when I say wealth, I'm not just talking about money, because some people actually fear about talking money. I'm talking about wealth as in contributing to the world, contributing with your entire being, with how you're being with money, how you're being when you're driving your BMW or driving your Range Rover, how you're being as you're walking across the car park to work and you see litter. Do you pick the litter up and put it in the bin for the sake of a second, or you just walk past it? Sometimes I miss it because maybe I'm busy, but most of the time I pick it up. And it's who we be that determines what we do and what we have. So for me, it's about the tune and the attitude that we possess and then we bring to the world. And that's where I'm at now. But I definitely wasn't there years ago, because I didn't have the resources. I didn't possess the tools to know now how, like, respect, responsibility, manners. I didn't know the power of the mind. I didn't know the power of patience. I didn't know the power of persistence. I didn't know the power of life and living, you know. So that's where I'm at.
What does fire in the belly mean to you, James?
It's a good question. I know Fire in the Belly obviously is the podcast name. Fire in the Belly for me, when I think about Fire in the Belly, it's about that burning desire inside, that inner voice, I remember learning about the mind and remember learning that the mind is a secondary thing, the primary thing is your source, your spirit, because then the mind then goes into the intellect. So, the three planes of creation: spiritual, intellectual, and physical. Everything we see. So fire in the belly, to answer your question, what fire in the belly means to me is it's like the spirit. This laptop I'm using was once in the spiritual creation. It was once in the idea. This MacBook Pro, that's my brother's. I'm using it today to be on this. That microphone I see that you're using in the earphones, even us, we were all in the fire, in the fire in the belly of someone else, our parents. They would love to have kids. They wanted children. And now we're here. We are actually a product of fire in the belly. We're a product of that spirit. We're a product of that ignition, that spark. Everybody listening to this, was once in the idea and the dream of someone's belly and someone's heart. And to think about that, like today, that's magic in itself. Like, that's amazing. So what does that mean for us today, being here in the physical? Well, if you have something in you, like a fire in the belly, as you call it, that itch, that want, that intuition, that feeling, that spirit, that drive, who is to tell you that you can't do something? Someone would tell you can't do it, but we as human beings accept that. It's us that actually makes the final decision. So go with the things that's in your belly to do. If you have that fire, that flame inside, that burning desire, I think I'm Think and Grow Rich, it talks about the burning desire. When you have that desire, go with it. Light up the sky. I would sing a Guy Light Body song, light up, as if you had a choice. We do have a choice, and we're here to light up the sky, illuminate the sky. Because if you don't go with it, as people say, and I know it's a cliche to say, but it is true. It's true. I witnessed my mum there 4 months ago dying in our home, and we will get to a point where we will not be here in the physical body. And I'll look back at my life and go, I done what I did. I took the action. When Pete messages me, James, would you love to be in the fire in the belly? Yes, Pete. When people present you an opportunity, you say yes to it. Sometimes we're conditioned away from opportunities because of fear, because of maybe judgment or criticism, or you feel that you're less than. That's a story that people tell, and that's the story I used to tell. And then I plugged in the 150-watt light bulb. So for us, fire in the belly, when you ask that question, it really encompasses living. Because to go with something in your belly, your gut, when you think about this now, when we were all in the womb, all of us, we were in the womb, we were fed through the gut. We weren't fed through the mouth. We weren't fed through the ears. We weren't fed through our eyes or our nose. We were actually fed through the umbilical cord in our gut. Our primary source was our gut. That's why we call it gut feeling. So that belly, that feeling inside, that intuition, sit with those things, emotionalize those things, entertain those things, write those things down. And those things could come when you're in the shower, when you're washing your hair, you're conditioning your hair, or you're washing your body, or you're driving your car and you're in those low positive modes or feelings. The next thing, you have a flashing idea that comes into your being, if it's your belly or your heart or your spirit or whatever you want to call it. Then you go with those things because that's what's been given you to do. That's the magic of life. The fear and the illusions is in the mind, and because the mind goes with the memory. Oh, wait, no, I don't have the capacity to do that. But really your body's saying, yes, go for it, James, or go for it, Pete, or go for it, Claire, or Susan, or Brian, or whoever you are. So it's about conditioning yourself to go with that belly, that fire in the belly, going with that gut, and singing true to what you want to do, and having no fear. Because fear is false evidence appearing real anyway. It's false evidence. It's an illusion. It's an illusion that's been emotionalized to become a reality to some people. You know what I mean? Because if an emotionalized an illusion, it's possessed their life, and it's now a weed in the garden, and it's suffocating the plants. Cut down that weed, and the plant will go through it. And next thing, your garden, as Guy Lightbody says, show us a garden bursting into life. So I trust that answers your question. I don't know if you maybe had that answer before.
No, it's a beautiful answer. I think and I kind of want to circle back on something you said very close to the start. You talked about unconscious fear. Can you clarify that for people?
Yeah. So we as human beings, obviously we see things consciously. You know, I can constantly see you. But the unconscious, and I didn't know what the unconscious was. The unconscious is your feeling mind, you know, the feelings, your beliefs, all of your conditioning, you know. And quite often there's fears that come into play. So I use the analogy to break it down in the most simplest terms, is when we were all young and in the cot, right? And say a spider runs across the cot. We as babies were calm, you know, probably dreaming about a wonderful life, dreaming that you'll do a podcast with Pete someday in the future, right? And next thing, the mother comes along or the father comes along and goes, ah, spider, right? And the family then panics and they create the panic, right? And that goes into the child. So then in the future, as the future pans out, then the child has an unconscious fear of spiders because it's now embedded emotionally into their mind, you know. But that's a reaction that's been programmed from the reaction of the parent. But maybe that came too. That's not to blame the parent. That maybe came from their parent, and that maybe came from their parent, and that maybe came from their parent. So sometimes unconscious fears are handed down and possessed because of the environment and the people around us. You know, so for us then, what's the opposite of fear? Well, the opposite of fear is faith. And what is faith? Certainty. And the more you go with certainty, then you eradicate the unconscious fear. We all have unconscious fears. You know what I mean? Fear is fear to be demonized. You know, sometimes people say, fuck fear, you know. Right? Well, sometimes you have to look at fear and go, why am I having this fear? What's this fear about? Right. Let's take a leap of faith. I've observed the fear, okay, and now I'm going to go with faith. So for me, it's about taking that leap of faith every day. And when you're challenged, because sometimes there's unconscious fears and they're so embedded into us from maybe school days, childhood days, and they pop up to the surface level at the age of 20 or 23 or 40 or 50 or 60. And you have these things that come through, and then you can make a new decision. You can make a new decision. So when fears do come up, you can make a new decision by changing those and going, I'm making a new story today. I'm going to tell myself approach it in a relaxed way, in a calm way, you know. And the spider this is an analogy. The spider could be anything for anybody. It doesn't mean it has to be a spider. It could be a fear of, I remember when the car rolled off the road several times, I landed on the side, very blessed to be alive. The very next day, I drove past the scene of the crime because I changed the story. Most people won't get back into your car for a while, right? Because of unconscious fears, right? Because they're not seen yet, you know, consciously. Where I consciously chose to drive past the scene of the crime again, and it's not even a crime. It's not even a crime because the thing is, it's over now. And I changed my narrative. I was like, I lived. I'm here. I'm well. I drive well. I'm driving safely. So we must look after ourselves by communicating more certainty, more faith, taking a leap of faith, and questioning our unconscious fears, because most of them have been brought into our minds from outside sources, you know. And it's about looking at those things, exploring those things, and then moving forward with more faith energy and more love and more consciousness, going, life is good and all is well. Yes to life. I'm alive. All is good. And condition ourselves then. Some people call it programming. The only challenge I have about programming when I was growing up, it used to be spelled PROGRAM. Now in the television, subtly, they have ME, program me. Right? It's in the words.
Yeah.
Think about
true.
this. Program me. So that's the only challenge I have around the word program me. I'm not here to be programmed. You cannot program the fire in the belly. You can't. It can't be programmed. You can't program the spirit. It can't be programmed, because if it was programmed, then we would all live luxury, amazing lives, right? As in, woo, yeah. So if I programmed into my mind, right, program, my mom's going to live forever, I'll be distraught, because I'll be living in an absolute illusion, because it's not true. So we must look at reality thinking. Looking at reality thinking, I'm going with the heart's desire and the spirit. And I trust that answers your question.
It certainly does. It certainly does.
Brilliant.
And I'm curious there. I mean, how do you take I don't want to use the word program, but I mean, how do you sort of choose to live constantly? Like, say your mother, for example, you want her to live forever. The want comes from, say, the conscious mind, but yet you realize that that's not true. It's not true. It's not possible long term, because we have physical issues here on Earth, let's say. So I mean, it's how do you take a fine line in between that, or how do you guide yourself to say, listen, I don't want to be too prescriptive, but yet I want to be open enough to what's possible. I don't want to be too fearful, but yet I don't want to be too hopeful. And is there a useful path that we can follow that sort of allows everything to come to us freely and pass through freely, do you think?
Absolutely. So for me, how I got to this stage in my life is learning the art of pure acceptance and letting go. And there's a process to that. And it's an amazing process, of course. And that's why we would do our retreats and seminars, because we go through that process and we train people how to do that, to fully accept what is and to completely let go. So, one of my greatest people that I look for inspiration from is Jesus, because Jesus is spoken about still to this day. I'm speaking about Jesus, right? And for him, he showed a lot of faith. He showed a lot of forgiveness. Even when he was on the cross, when he was nailed into the wood and thorns on his head, he still forgave people. He still forgave people. He still possessed that empathy to go, forgiveness. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Now, he had to communicate that. So one of the things that I would teach my clients, and when we're mentoring people, is the art of forgiveness, the art of letting go, the art of acceptance. And one way to do that is through the language that we speak. So sometimes people are conditioned to communicate loss, grief, victimization, live in victimhood. This is the way I explain it. I used to live in victimhood. I mean, I was the best. I used to live like victimhood, I used to be the hood in victimhood, right? Because I found a lot of comfort in that. And plus I went through a lot of challenges. I was told by a certain person in authority that I was never going to get anywhere in life. And that was emotionalized into my unconscious. I lived that through my conscious then. So the thing today is to know that all of us, we can all forgive. We all have the ability to make a new decision. I remember I was working in Tesco's at the time, years ago, and I met this wonderful woman, and she had told me that her husband had been shot dead, right, by a certain organization. And she said she was going, and this was years and years ago, And she was in the shop this night in Tesco's, and she said to me, James, I'm going to meet the person who pulled the trigger, to hug him and to forgive him. And I remember just getting goosebumps up and down my body, that this woman, whose husband had been taken away from whatever circumstances, still a loss of life in the physical body, she still had after years of maybe, trauma, trials, test in the mind, she got the point in her time where she went, I'm going to forgive. And that's a very powerful thing, the ability to let go and forgive. Because sometimes people, I'm a great believer that sometimes hurt people have been hurt, but they hurt others. They deflect that pain onto others because they're in that vibration. And all they know is to be in that vibration for that moment in time. But it's about forgiving the people who have hurt us. I've been hurt many times, and I've hurt people. And I've actually I've asked for forgiveness. Whether you get it or not doesn't matter, as long as you ask, And for me, it's about the communication of it, the acceptance of it. And I remember, so when mum was in her process of leaving this earth in this physical presence, there was a lot of unconscious blaming, a lot of things coming to the forefront of my mind. Someday I'll go into the story, but for this purpose, there was a lot of things that I was blaming, and I decided to stop blaming and just to let go and accept the moment, because I knew she was dying. She was going, she was going like, and there was no point going into the point of view of trying to control the situation or blaming others or blaming other organizations, especially pharmaceutical companies. No point. There's no point. There's no point. For me, I was like, all is good, all is well. My time on this earth with my mom will be remembered how I want to remember it, and that's by forgiveness and love and healing. So through forgiveness and through showing compassion and empathy, we heal ourselves, but we also heal others. And it takes great courage sometimes to do that. And I've had to do that. And by doing that, honestly, I've really, really, really explored more relationships with other people, formed more better relationships with others. There are people who used to hate me, used to slander me, who are now friends of mine. One person in particular went to one of our seminars, and that person had ridiculed me, So that's a big, big thing. And when I talk about Jesus too, I look back at the story. Was it about the suffering? Was it about the suffering, or was it about the resurrection and the living? What was the story about? Well, the story was about the latter part, the forgiveness, the empathy. It wasn't about the suffering, because we suffer a lot, but we can communicate suffering. But, that energy, back with that emotion, you'll take it out in your body, you'll take it out in others. Whereas when we come from that energy of love, of acceptance, of letting go, of surrendering and serenity and harmony, then I'm a great believer that life then blossoms, that we open up, and I would say to everybody watching this too, crying is cleansing, and cleansing's for the soul. Sometimes we're afraid to cry, because you have to be a macho man, or, the girls don't want to ruin their makeup. You'll always buy more makeup. People are always going to perceive you as macho man anyway. The biggest lesson I learned was letting go, surrendering to it all, and not worrying about what other people think, because that's a self-image. And if we live in self-image, to be honest with you, we're F-U-C-K-E-D. We're fucked.
Have you been here before, do you think?
Have I been here before? I actually had this question before by someone. Nothing means anything but the meaning that you decide to give it. That's what I want to say first. And we all get to tell our own stories. For me, I have a feeling that yes, I've been here before, and I've been brought back. I don't know why I'm saying that, but that's what I think. Some people might think that a bit mad and cuckoo, depending on their level of awareness. But yes, I do believe that this is a great time. And either if I was a bird singing in the sky, or if I was a rainbow shooting across the sky, whatever, I would be into that. Yes, because for me, when I look at this podcast, I know my mum's here. Like, I feel her presence. I don't see her. You know, someone actually said to me the other day, and I'd never been told this before, Pete, and it almost brought a tear to my eye, but I didn't cry for this because it was amazing. But someone stopped me in the street and they said, the first time ever I've been told this, she says, I can see your mum in you. You resemble a lot like your mother. And that was like, wow. You know, no one actually ever said before that I'd look like mum. So when people see me, they see mum. So she's still here, you know, and that's what I am identifying with this situation. For me, yes, I've got a feeling that I have been here before, and I could be long when I go. I could be here as well, in a different form, in a physical body. Don't know when, don't know how, don't know where. That's up to the man or woman above. I don't know.
What's your earliest conscious memory?
My earliest conscious memory, that's an excellent question. If you ask me that on a different day, it could be a different answer. But for now, for today, I do have a memory of walking on the beach with my mum and dad years and years ago. It must have been about maybe 2 or 3. I don't know where it was, because you're young, you're 2 or 3, you don't really, you know. But I do remember we were walking and we were creating like footprints in the sand with my sister. And yeah, that would be my youngest childhood memory for now. Yeah, at this present moment, you know.
Happy memories?
Absolutely, happy memories. We all have different memories, but I was sharing this to a client today. We were talking about memories, and every memory really is a success memory, because again, it comes down to what we identify and how we identify a memory. So we could go back and you can ask me a question, James, tell me about a time that's traumatic in your life. You know, tell me about a situation that's traumatic, and I could go back to that situation. But then perception has me, well, that happened for a reason. That was a success because it got me over a hurdle. You know what I mean? It got me over and that's where perception then comes into play. So we as human beings having this experience, I'm a great believer in that everything has happened for us, and it's led us up until this profound time, this profound point. And then if a memory does come up from our unconscious, you know, maybe it's an unconscious fear, well, look at that challenge. Because when you explore it, and when you really do explore it, you realize that thing led you to where you're at today. That thing has made you the person who you are today. That thing was for you in some way. Someone benefited from that situation. Someone maybe didn't benefit from that situation, but then looked at that situation and benefited from it later on in life. So there's all these different things. It's like a spider's web. I know we're talking about spiders here, but it's like a spider's web, you know, and it's all linked, you know.
How often do you think, and I mean, it's totally unstatistical, but I mean, how often do people actually get to experience this? How much of the population goes through and has this awareness or revelation, do you think?
It's all individually, you know. To answer that question, for me, it's like there is a slumber. We call it the hypnotic slumber, you know. And what we're about is helping people to awaken from the hypnotic trance of slumber. I was in the slumber for many years, and then I awakened to my core truth. And I'm on a mission. And we are on a mission. And that mission will be lived and will be lived out, whether I'm here or not, whether Stevie's here or not. We have more people on the team because it will be passed on. For me, yes, what I see and from communication with clients is there is a numbness, and it's not pointing blame at anything, but there is the reality of the situation. Social media, you know, this device, when we go into schools, you know what I do, Pete? I throw the phone away. I show the kids, like, this is an amazing tool. I'll just show you this for the crack. I don't know if you can see it. It's all battered and bruised.
Yes, indeed.
Reason being is because I just do this. Like, I literally, I throw the phone on the floor. And the reason why is because I create shock to show them that that phone can always be replaced. I can get a brand new phone tomorrow or today if I wanted to. We can't. My mum cannot be replaced in the physical body. She can't be. I may say, oh, I see her in a bird, or someone says she sees it in me, but I never see her. So for us, it's about, like, we can do well with this. You use this as a resource. But for me, people are fed they're 1622 on the 22nd of September. And I have to share this because 22 is a number that has followed me a lot. It's not that I go out for it. I'll just show you. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if you can see 1622.
Yeah, 1622, yeah.
On the 22nd. 22 is actually the master number in numerology. It's a number that's, if you actually turn the two numbers around, it actually creates a heart. Right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right.
Enough.
Yeah. So nothing means anything but the meaning that you decide to give it. That number has played a huge impact in my life. Huge impact in my life. And I don't know why. I don't go searching for it, but there's been a lot of situations that number has played a huge part in my life. And now it's there now. I just picked it up and there it was. So it leads me to this. Sometimes in life, we look at things through different situations and different things. We get to communicate our own narrative. We get to communicate our own story. You said to me today, about, James, this is what the podcast is going to be like. I don't know when, don't know what we're going to talk about or where we're going to go with this. And that's the beauty about life. So nothing means anything but the meaning that you decide to give it, or any of the listeners or any of the viewers today. We can put into our mind anything today. I go, I am amazing. I am wonderful. Whatever we emotionalize will come about in the physical. It'll become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So there is an energy that's like, for me, it's fear. There's a lot of fears that are put into people's minds, and it's on steroids now. It really is. And with the challenge with social media, it's not social. I would actually campaign and start a campaign that we need to actually eradicate the word social media, because it's actually marketing media, because most of it's marketing your ass on things that you don't need and making people sick. It's not social at all, really. When the social media platforms formed years ago, yes, they were social, but they're not really social now, really. And most people are now weaning themselves off it, So yeah, in order to experience what I've been experiencing, everybody's experiences are different. But the more we disconnect, I tell people, I share with people, to go offline to go online. Now, what I mean by that is there's an online presence outside of online, living, the birds singing, the trees whistling in the wind, the music from nature, the cars bustling. And once you relax and get offline and go online into the online space, then you start to live, you start to awaken, you start to hear things that maybe you didn't hear before. You start to connect with your guidance or your inner truth. Boy Vance from Bangor, he has a song called Guiding Light. That song. When I get to, you're my guiding light. We have guiding lights, but sometimes the light has been dimmed. The lighthouse, the ship's away out there. The lighthouse has been stopped or dimmed because everything's on steroids now. It has to be quick. And people are actually sick. They're actually physically sick. And then it's like Groundhog Day. It's like the movie, I've got you, babe. Every morning. And every day it's like a drudge. It's like trotting along. Whereas when you switch off from the devices, when you switch off from the television, when you switch off from the radio, and you just go out and you explore, oh my, it's like we call it an epic adventure, but it's like an epic adventure. It's like an awakening. It's amazing. So I encourage everybody I know people are going to watch this. The catch-22 is people will have to watch this by using social media. But social media can be a good thing. And that's not to blame social media or demonize social media. Social media can be an amazing thing when it's used in the right way. But the majority of it now is not, because a lot of people's voices have been suppressed. A lot of people's beliefs have been suppressed. And we're not allowed to speak. We're not allowed to communicate. We're not allowed to talk about vitamin D or vitamin C, which it's important to talk about those things. So for me, create your own broadcast system. You are your own broadcast system. There was life before social media. There'll be life after it, but there's also life during it. Get off it.
There's a polarity in that, isn't there? And it's common to so many things. I mean, it's money. Money is paper, plastic, metal, whatever form it comes in, and it's inert. You choose. Social media is the same. It's media, whether it's social, unsocial, harmful, helpful. You choose.
Yep.
Same as fear. It's all feedback, right? It's all energy. It's just
exactly
how we perceive and how we decide to take it on board, how we decide to interpret it in our own lives.
And that's it. We all get to decide, which is the most amazing thing. Because at the end of the day, that's it. We all get to decide. But I read recently, we were doing a mastermind here a few weeks ago. And it says in the epilogue of Think and Grow Rich, indecision crystallizes doubt. What does that mean then from the opposite side? Well, what that means is decision crystallizes certainty. So the moment we make a decision today to wean off social media today, to wean off the sugar, that suppresses our immune system, that suppresses our gut, to wean on walking, maybe go for a walk for 30 minutes. The more we decide, when we make a decision, we're cutting off and we're making a decision and we're acting and we're going with certainty to decide for us today, for you today. To not listen to because some people look up and wait for a celebrity, to wait for someone on television. For them, that's what people do. People actually wait. The big thing that I see now too online is people talk about spirituality, that they're spiritual, right? It's a big thing now, on Instagram. What I learned about true spirituality, true spirituality, is when we decide to grow and contribute to things much greater than ourselves. Things much greater than ourselves. And that's why I'm, part of the Super You. Because the Super You isn't about me. The platform I'm passing through isn't about me. Fire in the Valley isn't about you. It's about a much greater thing. And that's why the story of Jesus, it wasn't about Jesus. That's the challenge. People have forgotten about this. Don't listen to the messenger. Listen to the message. Because it's not. If it was about the messenger, then that's the ego and that's the self. No, for us. It's more than that. It's about a mission. It's about contribution fully. That's what I believe that I learned too, and I have witnessed it, is when you go to things much greater than yourself and you go beyond the mind. And like we would go over to Belarus every year. We haven't got the last 2 years because of the flights restrictions, but we will be going back, and we deliver Christmas presents to orphan children. 1,000 orphan children receive Christmas presents. These orphan children have been rescued from abuse. Some of the cases we've been, and I mean, it's really heart-wrenching. I've been to Africa twice. I walked through the slums of Africa, and they're challenged, but the people in this situation are challenged more because some of them have no arms, no legs, no feet. They're really, really challenged, and doing stuff like that. It's not about me. It's not about even it's not about the photographs or anything like that and the things online. It's about the work that you do, and that ignites your spirit. That's what spirituality means for me, is to engage more of contribution, much greater than ourselves. Because if it's about ourselves, is it really spirituality? No, it's about us. It's a shit life when it's about you all the time. That's the way I used to live. It was all about me, and what I can get from the situation. Whereas when we grow together, we expand together, we ignite our spirit more together, when we do things much greater than individual self. And that for me is true spirituality,
Are you clear on your core values or your soul values?
Yeah. I wasn't for many years, and maybe behaviors and things that I'd done before made me more clear. Mistakes were meant to be made. Decisions were meant to be decided upon. Words were meant to be expressed. Would I go back and change anything? No, I wouldn't, because it's made me the person I am today. So I'm very clear on my values, very clear that respect, responsibility, and manners. Now I evolve every day. I'm growing every day. We all do. And that's what I was saying about courage earlier. The word age, we all have to have the courage to forgive, because there's going to be challenges after this podcast call, you know. So sometimes people perceive, oh, podcast, oh, this person must live a luxury life. This person must live a good life, you know. So there's like a flash. I call it the flash TV, you know, where people perceive. I've hung around. I used to do things years ago. I was on Game of Thrones as an extra, and a lot of the actors were challenged, but a lot of the extras from Ireland and Northern Ireland were more respectful than some of the actors that were paid a lot of money. The people cleaning up the rubbish, the people who were more friendlier, you know, and maybe it's the lifestyle that people have to live because they're in this idea of being an actor, so they have to perform. But sometimes it doesn't cost much just to be kind, to be a smile, you know, to listen to people, to really listen to people. I think we as a human race now, moving forward, we must listen to ourselves, but also each other. Really listen to each other, you know, and listen to each other from the point of view of openness, of variety, of exploring each other's dreams and goals and ideas and feelings. And, you know, connection is a big thing, connecting with others. But I'm finding now when I really connect with other people, I raise my vibration is raised. So I want to do more of that. I used to not be like that. As I said, I used to be depressed. I used to live a life of depression. And I used to live that life. And then I switched over to expression, which is the opposite of depression. You know, so I express more. And now I'm on this journey, and I'll be evolving. Even after this, God knows I could get a flat tire after this, you know. I say this to, I know this will make people laugh, like watching this, but you know, I say this to my clients. I say, even I get constipated, you know. You're a mentor. Like, people idolize Tony Robbins. They idolize these big people. They're gurus, you know. You know, Jesus went to the toilet. He was human. Jesus cried. My father taught me years ago. My father was a monk, and my father taught me that in the Bible, one of the most profound things that he learned from the Bible was Jesus wept. That showed his human side. You know, he was human. You know, so sometimes we live in this comparison world on separation, because comparison will create separation. You know, and we look up. Sometimes people look up to others. Look within, and then look around. We're all the same. We all bleed red. You know, we all have to go to the toilet. What goes in goes out, and it's about dispelling these things. Sometimes the ego wants to, you know, compare and contrast, and that has a lot to do with social media, television, because that's what it's set up to do. And it's sad, and people do live that life. But when you get away from that, you realize that we are all on this plane creation, and we're all one with the universe. And there's no one above you and below you. You know, and that's how I feel about the situation.
Do you think people get you?
The answer to that question is people who have followed me for the last 4 to 5 years on passing through, who have stuck with me, who have promoted me, definitely get me. Some people who see me from the filter of the past don't. And I've had people who have slated me, slandered me, people who have went online, publicly posted about me in different ways and lies. From them, it's their reality and truth, and I respect that. But when it's lies, it's lies. There are people who don't get me. There are people who will never get me because they live in a life of mediocrity, because I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission. And I have to say that. I know that's blunt, but when someone really wants to get to know someone, they will do their absolute best to get to know someone. I've made decisions in the past where I've judged people before, right? And that was me living a mediocre life. I can't judge anybody unless I really, 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 really get to know them. Remember the Chinese whispers, and it's like that. It's like, is this really what the truth is? Because sometimes you hear things, it's not really true. It's not reality, because it's just hearsay. And it's been passed down, and the story is manipulated and changed so far that it's just not true. So yes, there's loads of people who get me and support me in everything I do, but there's certain people who don't and who never will. And I'm not here to please them. I'm not here to win them over. I'm just here on my own mission. If they do, brilliant. If they don't accept me, even Jesus was crucified. I'm not comparing myself to Jesus, but Jesus was killed, crucified. People threw apples and bananas and things at him, showing to me, and he came with a message. So, throughout time, messengers have always been ridiculed. People, you're going to be ridiculed. Everyone's ridiculed because people perceive us from the past, but that's the past. People maybe perceive me from the 50-watt light bulb, but I'm over here at the 150, and people who want to get to know me more will. Those who don't, I used to learn French years ago. Au revoir, c'est la vie. My ship has sailed. That's reality thinking. Positive thinking would be trying to win them over. And I can spend all my energy trying to win them over. I never will. Never will. They have to make that decision to whether to like me or hate me. You can't really change anybody, really, when you think about it, because they're going to live their other life. They may say, oh, yeah. And then they're off ridiculing someone. So for me, it's like, those who get me, brilliant. Those who don't, brilliant. It's all good. That's where forgiveness comes in. That's where, forgive them for they know not what to do. and that's my attitude towards the situation. For those who do get me and for those who don't.
How does, in your experience, change happen?
What do you say, Pete?
How does change happen?
How does my change happen, or change in general?
Change for you, or even with your students, you viewed it that people genuinely change. As you say, it's not just a flash in the pan motivation or inspiration. It is a genuine change, transformation.
Brilliant question. So for me, it all depends on the context of what you're talking about. But the answer to what you've asked there, basically, change for me, people are motivated to move away from pain and towards pleasure. So when there's pain and you're in pain, and you're really in pain, well, you're going to make a decision. You're either going to stay in the pain or you're going to get the fuck out of that pain, right? For me, that change will be ignited and stimulated by the level of pain that you're going through, and also the level of passion and pleasure that you want to get to. So it depends on how big or great your worthy ideal is. So we would always say people who have a worthy ideal or a dream or a goal will make the necessary changes, because there's no time for drama. I used to be in drama, the roller coaster of life, up and down, up and down, up and down, that I didn't make the changes. And then life, universe, God guided me to missions, to higher ideals, to worthy ideals. And then that helped me to make changes. So for people listening to this and watching this, it's different for different people. We must consciously choose to change, because sometimes there's unconscious habits. You have to put the biscuit down because you made a decision to change. But maybe the television has programmed you and you've seen it over and over and over and over and over again, and it's programming you. And the television and the social media, I know I'm going on about this, but this is the truth. It makes people feel shit. Most of it. I know when I watch television, most of the news, and I don't watch much news, but sometimes I tune in to see what's going on. But it makes me feel sick. It makes me physically feel sick. And then what happens is, usually in the past, I would have went and ate shit because it made me feel shit. Now I'm going to eat shit to feel comfortable. So sometimes systems are set up that way, to make us that way, to make us feel that way. So making changes, deciding, making new decisions. We can make a new decision today. How? Well, ask a question. When you ask a question, you focus your attention. People ask about how do you change? How do you focus on something new? Ask a question. What can I do today? The quality of your life will depend on the quality of your question. What does that mean? Well, what it means is if you want to change the quality of your life, ask a better question. Ask a deeper question. And what will happen is you will find an answer. You'll be given the answer by someone or by yourself. Because inside there'll be a voice. Go and do that thing. Go and talk to that person. So anyone out there, write that down. Write that down. The quality of my life depends on the quality of my questioning. When you ask a question, it's going to help you to get a better focus. And that's how you change your focus, by asking a question. And that's what I would give advice for, you know.
Do you think we generally know an answer and we're actually looking for a question to frame something we already know?
Yeah, that could be it too. Yeah, we know inside. You know that song? You know that song? There's something inside so strong. Oh no, yeah. Know that I can make it. You know that song? You're nodding away. There's something in us. There's something within us that knows we have the potential. There's something in there that knows that we're magic, that we have been created. Well, we're co-creators. I remember learning that we're co-creators. There's something in there, but for some reason, and we know the reason, pure conditioning, lies, illusions, you know, it could be from outside sources, individuals, family members, people around us, social media, television, newspaper, radio. And people are feeding their mind with all these things and they accept them to be true. But really, there's something in you that wants to do or say or be. And, you know, it's almost like you're at the dance floor. You know, I do a bit of jiving. I teach jiving as well. But, you know, the person wants to dance and the toes are tapping at the end of the floor. But inside, they want to go on the floor and ask the girl for a dance. But they never do. But inside them, they would love to do it. But the fear, the unconscious fear, it's like the block, you know, it's like that barrier. We're really inside them. Go and dance. What's the worst? Is a girl going to say no? Brilliant. At least you know. You know. So rather than getting the toes tapping and, you know, beating to the music, go and ask and take a leap of faith. So that could be for anybody listening to this. Take a leap of faith because there is something inside so strong. And you know you can make it. And if you don't make it, you'll go a different journey. You'll go a different path. You maybe fall down a swamp hole like me.
Would you say, are you more motivated by pain than in pleasure, or what sort of gets you going?
That's an excellent question. That's a very good question. It all depends. Now, sometimes, yes, pain will move me forward and get me rocking and rolling. And for some people, that would be the same thing. But we don't want to train ourselves that way, because then we have to do that all the time. And we maybe think we need pain to move us forward. Whereas for me, it's more about moving towards the pleasurable things, because I've been through hurt and pain in my life. I've witnessed it. I've actually also give it out as well. I've created pain in other people's lives, you know, because we all do that. We all go through that situation. But for us today, it's going right from, well, the answer to your question is it's more pleasure than pain. Pain got me to this passion, but now pleasure is getting me moving forward to the 250 watt light bulb, you know. And that's for me, that my journey is that I suffered enough. I was in a lot of pain. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to go through pain in the future. That doesn't mean that the pain won't catapult me more towards the pleasure and be moving forward more, doing the things that are more pleasurable, the more enjoyable, you know. But I'll still also go through pain. And thankfully, thank God, I know how to deal with those situations in the right way. I know how to change my state. I know how to change my body language. I know how to change my language. I know how to change my focus. I know how to change the emotions. because I know why and I know how, and I know the tools to be able to do that. So yeah, there'll be challenges along the way, there'll be obstacles, but I'll be more motivated towards the pleasure, and focus on the pleasurable situations and changing the pain towards pleasure, seeing the different perceptions. It's, when you actually, the 3 P's, pleasure, pain, perception, it's really, when you think about it, and passion, 4 of them, 4 P's, they're all one with each other. They're already one with each other because we all need them. We all need them. We all need the pain. We all need the pleasure. We all need it for passion, and we all have to question our perception. So the 4 P's, and the 5th P is Pete.
I'll take it. That's all right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you think, do we get greater energy through in circumstances when we have the greater contrast? So understanding that example for, there's the pain and there's the pleasure. When we see the depth of the contrast, that generates a greater, is it a useful tool? Let's put it that way.
Absolutely, it's useful. People will find this, people will constantly hear this in different ways. Maybe rewatch this to get this. But yeah, we can all use this tool, because that's what people are motivated to move away from pain and towards pleasure. So we can all use this in all different types of our lives. I've been in a lot of pain in different areas, relationship-wise. I've created a lot of pain in relationship-wise. I've been in a lot of pain in business-wise. I maybe create a lot of pain in business-wise as well, because maybe then wasn't moving forward and doing the things I should have been doing in business, and also in health and well-being. So we must look at, what does motivate us? What does captivate us to move forward? What does inspire us to lead and to cut off and making better decisions? And if it is to go with more the things that your heart desire, then go with that. Does that mean that maybe there is going to be a few things that are going to be hurtful and painful? Yes, but living in that, it's moving straight into pleasure. We call it high positive, low positive. We would show people how to move away from high negative states, and low negative states are very destructive. Those are pain. Those are painful things. And if we live in those emotions, what will happen is it's destructive, very destructive, and it will show up in your body and how you communicate to others. Whereas we're all about the pleasure, the paradise. That's another P. We're talking about all the P's today. The pleasure and the paradise. I love to talk about, like, we're living in paradise. And in paradise, there's going to be some challenges. There's going to be some trips. That's all part of an adventure. You're going to stumble. You're going to, be challenged, and you're going to challenge others. And that's how a relationship is formed. A true friendship on this. So friendship, I see friendship like, some friends at the surface level, it's only, friends, but a true friend will tell you the truth, even if you don't like it. And a real friend will listen to someone who tells them the truth, and even if they don't like it, they'll change their perception. Well, this person's telling me something that I need to hear, and that's, when you think about relationship, it's a ship. It's how you relate on your ship. And we all have relationships. Now we have a relationship with each other, and get to know each other. And you're asking me questions. And that's how we form a relationship. And some of them are painful situations, you're pulling the heartstrings, talking about mum, and all these things. I'm bringing that up. But I have this like layer now of truth, of acceptance. And it's like that onion, peeling away that onion. And then you can communicate. And that's why I have no fear. Because I have this layer of protection. I'm guided, I'm protected, and that's the fire in the belly. Because for me, it's like all I'm doing is really telling the truth. And when I tell the truth of my truth, then really you're in reality. It's no mask. It's not a persona. It's not a lie. It's not an illusion. It's just me telling the truth. And a lot can come from that. Everything comes from that.
How do you truly define the truth then?
It's a brilliant question. For me, my truth is the ability to completely surrender and let go of what you know and what you think you know, and going really with that inner voice, that inner truth, you know. Sometimes it's not there because the busyness of the mind, or you're too much in task, or you know, there's things, and there's a lot of things going on, the busyness of life. That's where we have to slow down. So how do we really find truth, and how do we even listen to the truth, is by really relaxing the mind. We would say to people, a relaxed mind is a winner's mind. So if you really want to win, you know, relax your mind. And when relaxing your mind, then you actually connect with your core truth, because you're connecting with life. You're slowing down. You're paused. You're in bliss state. You're in harmony. You're in that paradise zone. And then from there, ideas will form. Goals, dreams, things will start to come through for you. And then you start to connect with what's in you to do, you know, and from that, then that is your truth. That's your authenticity. That's your expression, you know. Now, then when we're relating to other people's truths, you know, maybe we don't agree with other people, but that's still their truth. Well, it's because I'm not agreeing, because maybe I'm coming from mediocrity, or maybe I'm seeing from a different side. And then that's where we come together and we ask questions. So I would say to people, rather than making statements all the time, because people make a statement and that's the shutting of the door, you know, where the opening of the door is they ask questions to get to know, well, is this something you would really love to do? You know, is this really, really what you would love to do? Is this what you want to do in the future? And if they're like, yes, I'm really, really, really excited about this, James, then I know that's their truth, you know, and then it's about promoting that. And then maybe down the line, it maybe ends up not being their truth. My truth may change in some capacity. You know, I could be doing something different in 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 2 years from now. I know I won't be, because I know my truth. Because I've been sent signs. I've had spiritual awakenings. I've had what people call calling. I call them downloads, streaming downloads, flashes. I've had flashes of the future. I had a flash of the future one time. This is an amazing story. We were lying down at a retreat, and we were all in a relaxed state. And I was breathing in through my nose and out through my nose, and an image came onto the screen of my mind of me speaking in New York City. And I was in a blue suit, and it felt good, right? Now, the old me would have said, no way, no chance would I ever be able to do that. As soon as we got up, I wrote it down on a card. I ended up doing that, and I ended up wearing a blue suit. But I didn't find the blue suit. The blue suit was given to me, you know, and I didn't go seeking to go to New York. New York presented itself to me, and it was so vivid, and I call it a download. But why was that truth able to come to me? Mm-hmm. Well, because my mind was completely relaxed, and I was detoxing. We were on a rejuvenation. We would eat very clean at the retreats. And when you're eating very clean, then you're decluttering, you're clogging out, and then everything's in alignment, and then it's saying yes to the things that come, you know, that are gifted. Because I didn't have to think about that. That's the thing that people think that they have to think. But when you're really in life, images or downloads will come to you, you know, and it's saying yes to those things. When you're in the shower cleaning your hair, or you're in the car and you're driving, there's a flashing idea or flashing image that you didn't have to think about. You know, some people call it God, energy, spirit, divine, you know. I call it my mum as well, communicating with me. Boom. It's up to me to say yes to that or no. Our minds have the ability to accept, reject, or neglect any thought, any idea. So the wonderful thing is I started saying yes. And through saying yes, then the universe vibration presented to me a woman called Maggie Brady, who said to me, James, there's a girl who would love for you to speak in New York. And this is all videoed and documented because there's a Chris Heath videoed all this. And I says, funny. I put that down in the go card, and then fast forward, I was at a different retreat. I was sharing a story, and a girl called Elaine Roach from TRM, she says, James, come down to my shop. I'll give you your clothes to wear for New York. I went down, trying things on. She brought this blue suit out, and it felt right. And that was it. Amazing.
It is. Do you have a feeling or a sense of what you're capable of?
What I'm capable of? I personally know now that I'm capable of many wonderful things, and I have the mind space to do whatever comes to me to do, I can do. Sometimes you'll fall down a swamp hole, right? And you'll have to walk back to the bus. I thought I'd do the 4 peak. So I'm wearing the Super U. We're going to go into schools all over Ireland and Northern Ireland. We're going to teach all the kids about life and about living and what we're talking about here. And yeah, sometimes challenges will happen, sometimes things won't go to plan, and I fell down a hole. And when you think about it, it's part of the journey. It's all part of the plan, it's all part of the mission. And it's for living. The mission is to be lived, and to be explored and to be shared. And no matter what happens, no matter where life takes you, no matter where you go, you just go with the flow and saying yes to the opportunities, because the opportunities are presented for us,
Very true. I'm curious about your language.
My language?
Yeah. So
in what way?
Well, it comes across as there's a slight bias towards visual language. You're quite not visual, auditory. It come across quite auditory bias, visual in the future sense, kinesthetic in the past sense, it seems. But also then you switch in your tenses as well. So the I, the me, the myself, so and it's just curious, and I haven't been able to place it, and it's almost separate factors. Sometimes I suppose when I'm coaching myself there, I'd be looking out for parts integration or one thing or another. But with yourself, you flex between the forms, but also different language. Does that make any sense? Does that tally?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very conscious that people are listening to this, you see. So sometimes I'm talking about my journey and then we, I would use that language now, and I'm trained that way. And to be honest with you, I used to be, I was like that naturally, because now I'm moving forward with that, because, sometimes when you're telling a story, it is the I, and you're talking about the self. But then, yes, you're talking about we, but I'm really talking to myself here. Everything I'm saying is communicating with me. I'm communicating with me. And we're really only really talking to ourselves, really. We're listening. I'm listening to you, and people are going to listen to this podcast. But after this, they're really in their own life, and they're only really ever communicating with themselves internally and externally. So then with the language, we must let go of the language of lack and limitations and self, because if it is about the self, that will be self-destruction, because that's not growth. So the Maslow law, the 6 human needs, the 4 primary needs, right? And then there's 2 spiritual needs. The 2 spiritual needs are growth and contribution. People don't realize that when you go to the spiritual needs, growth and contribution, you're going to get the other 4 anyway. You get security. You get connection, which is love. You get significance. And you also get variety, which is adventure. So when you meet your growth and contribution needs, and through that language of talking about we and I and us together, in the collective harmony, then we also meet the other needs, which are primary needs. But you're better meeting the primary needs by going to the other 2 spiritual, to the spiritual needs, which is growth and contribution, because that will elevate you. That will fuel your passion. That will guide you towards what you want to do. Because if it's about yourself, then you'll go with significance. Oh, it's about me. And that's shit. It really is. it can be very challenging when you're on your own. We would always say to people, is the answer to climb to the top of the mountain on your own? Because when you get to the top of the mountain, you're going to look down and go, well, everybody's down there partying. Sometimes you have to go on mountains on your own, but you might as well bring people with you. And that's why we there at the weekend, we raised almost, I think, €100,000, right? And we had people from all over. People flew in from Boston. Pat McKenna and his guys flew in from Boston. We had people from all over Cork. We, as a Super U, could have done it just as a team, but we had like almost 80 people walking, climbing the 4 peaks of Ireland. Why? Because growth and contribution. So the language, so the language can evolve when we grow together in unison. And when you think about team means together, everyone achieves more. The more we work together and as a team, Pete, we will achieve more. Separation, the lie, the comparison, we will do less. We will do more collectively in unity and as one.
Yeah. No, I think it's a beautiful way of looking at it, and I think, it's a massive compliment, because I think your ability to communicate on multiple levels and through the multiple senses, but also the multiple tenses. I think, it's an unusual factor. I generally find, sometimes I'm cautious of, is there parts that people are not comfortable with, or vice versa. But with yourself, you stream through the different tenses and, like I say, the different senses as well. And I think that's a massive skill. So, it's a
thank you.
compliment.
I've never been communicated that, Pete. So thank you. That means a lot, because I wasn't aware that I'd done that, from your point of view. So thank you for that. And I'll keep her lit then. I'll keep her going.
Well, that's what it's all about, right? It's there. Tell me this, what's a bit of a guilty pleasure for James?
Guilty pleasure, that's an excellent question. I love dancing. I love jiving. I started jiving just after I was 22. Just after that, when I wanted to die, and I really found it an amazing resource to express and so I would spend 4 or 5 hours on the dance floor. I would change my shirt 4 or 5 times, and some people think, right, it's all about country, but and farmers and stuff like that. But then that's perception, Whereas myself and my beautiful fiance Hannah, we teach as well outside of the job and the mission that I'm on with Stevie and the Super U. We also teach a company called Jive Gym. That came from an idea as well. Flashing image came in to the screen of my mind at a retreat. The first ever jiving gym,
Fantastic.
So my guilty pleasure would be jiving and dancing, and helping people through that, because we can help people through many different ways, different modes. You can help people through smiling, going down to the neighbor and saying hello, but also you can help people through dancing and expressing. And I'm really looking forward now to everything coming back, which is brilliant to see.
Do you find yourself quite intuitive? Do you pick up on things? Do you see energy? Do you feel energy? What, when you're talking to people or passing by or coaching, how do you normally communicate as such?
That's an excellent question. Years ago, I didn't. It comes and goes. It all depends on what you're putting into your body or what you're not putting into your body. And yes, I do find myself, especially when you're walking up 4 peaks and you're really, really being challenged. We're talking about pain earlier. That was pleasurable, but it's also painful. And sometimes when you're going through those two experiences, your intuition heightens. You intuitively start to hear things or to feel things. And yes, over the years, I've been able to activate, which is actually one of our intellectual faculties, which is one of our inner muscles. We have 6. And one of the inner muscles is our intuition. We all have intuition. All of us have intuition. That intuitive hunch or feeling. And Think and Grow Rich, it talks about the telegram. Talks about the telegram. All these different words. Again, they're all labels, really. I can call them downloads, intuition, but absolutely, I would be very connected with that. Sometimes I'm not, because you can't be all the time. That'd be mad to think that. that you're constantly intuitive and you're constant. It's like positive, that positive thinking attitude. Someone's constantly positive. That is absolutely SH1T. It's you can't be, and someone can't be intuitive all the time. Jesus wasn't even intuitive all the time. He went and turned the tables upside down with frustration. Well, he probably had an intuitive feeling before that, but he went into, and he was doing it out of love. He turned the tables upside down because of the hypocrisy of the whole situation. So we as human beings, we go through levels and different ways and different experiences. But yeah, I would see myself when I'm cleansing, when I'm letting go, when I'm getting prepared for the retreat and getting out the body, cleansing out the body. And we're helping people. The more people I help, the more people we help and we serve, I find myself engaging more intuitively. Ideas come. Oh, this person would love this, or this person needs this, or I need more of this. And ideas, dreams, thoughts start to flow more through my intuition when I'm more relaxed, when I'm more centered, but also when I'm eating cleanly. Sugar definitely suppresses your intuition. Lack of exercise will definitely suppress the intuition. Sitting down a lot will definitely suppress the intuition. And that's why when we're moving, our mind is moving. So our body is moving and we're in flow. And next thing, energy, we call it energy. You're in energy and things start to come. And you're like, yes. The caveat is, the catch-22 is it's up to us then to write it down and follow through. I've had many intuitive ideas and some of them fell beside the wayside, the seeds, because I never took action upon them. Someday I will. So it's about, getting a pen, get a piece of paper, writing it down, and then scheduling and taking time out and moving forward with it. And because procrastination is a big thing, procrastination is a huge thing for a lot of people because they're waiting. But the inside, again, there's something inside so strong. That intuitive feeling is inside so strong. Just waiting for the person to ignite, to go with that fire in the belly. But then the broadcaster on the TV talks about all the woes. And then we live out that life, and we pull off, because we feel connected to that situation. Connect with yourself, connect with your dreams, connect with your intuition, because we all can. We all can,
What's the get up and go song for you? Because you love your music, don't you?
Yeah, I write music as well. I wrote a few songs now. I'm going to get my album out next year.
Fantastic.
My get up and go song changes a lot, but there's a song called Outlaws and Dreamers. It was actually the song I was listening to when I went down the hole. It's by a Scottish guy called Dick Cognan or something. But Outlaws and Dreamers. The song is very, 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 very powerful. It's more of a ballad. That's what I'm listening to at the minute. But I listen to loads of different songs. I would be very mindful of songs because some songs actually keep us trapped in unconscious fears, and some songs actually keep us in fear. And there's messages in songs, and songs are actually like incantations or affirmations, and we need to be mindful and aware of what we're actually singing because we're emotionalizing them through our singing. And even some prayers, I've actually changed some. Like I was born a Catholic, but I don't go to mass anymore. I believe that the temple is everywhere, as my belief is. I went to Chiang Mai, right? Years ago with my fiance. She was my girlfriend at the time. And there was like 143 temples. Which one do you go into? Which one speaks the truth? The temple's in the people. The truth is in the people. The temple and the churches have been made by man and woman as well. The temple is an individual. And that's what I believe to be true. So for us, we must be guided with what is coming in our hearts. So the answer to your question, there's a few songs, but there's a song by Guy Lightbody, that's "Show me your garden bursting into life." We are here to show our gardens bursting into life. The church is in the people.
Yeah.
The church is in the people. Without people, there would be no churches.
Yeah.
You know, I remember I was at a mass years ago, and it says in one of the readings of the mass, "I am not worthy to receive you, but only say the word and I shall be healed."
Mm-hmm.
I changed that because that was what I was feeling. I am worthy to receive you, and when you say the word, I will be healed. The language is so subtle.
Mm.
Now people go, James, come on, a bit anal there, James. No, come on. But it's so subtle.
Mm.
It's so subtle that we need to look out for it.
It's massive though, isn't it? As you say, I mean, an entire, it's encanted into you through childhood. If you're traipsed to the church doors or whatever your particular creed is, and as you say, you're born naked, and then you're programmed and trained and taught and
yeah. And here's the thing: the crack was when Jesus did die, he wasn't part of any church. Jesus wasn't part of any church. He had disciples around him. The disciples were everywhere. The churches was under the trees. He was healing people on the trees. The church formed after Jesus' death. And funny enough, it was formed by the Romans who killed Jesus. The Roman Catholic Church. Right? So, as you said, for me, we must look within ourselves. We are very spiritual beings. There's spirituality in the church just as much as outside the church. Mass in Latin actually means to go out and share the good news with the new. So share the good news with the new and me and everyone watching this or listening to this. You too have something inside so strong. You too have a fire in the belly. You too have an intuitive hunch or feeling, and go with that. Be guided with that. Question your fears. Sometimes you may find yourself at the top of the mountain, maybe wanting to jump over the cliff, maybe not physically, but emotionally. In all aspects of your life, ask the questions, seek counsel within, but also ask for advice. Ask people for opinions, and you'll find answers, and you'll grow and develop. And we're all here to grow and develop. And my mission is to grow and develop even more, because I'm here to learn. We're always here to learn. So that's my get up and go song at this present moment. Really look it up. I'll send it after this. Outlaws and Dreamers. It is a cracker. It really is a good one.
I love it. We'll make sure and put it in the show notes so people can
Yes.
can listen to it.
Yes.
So James, if you were to try and summarize your fire in the belly in one or two words, what would it be for you?
To summarize the fire in the belly for me is to be the most true, authentic self in all capacities, as in going with your true essence, your true core, and questioning your beliefs and the ideas and the stories that have been embedded or bestowed upon you, because most of them may not be true. And quite often we rob ourselves to expressing more from the fire in the belly within, because we have been depressed. What is depressed? The energy has been depressed. We've been put down. Either I wasn't off the school system where they used to physically beat people, but are people still alive today where people used to be physically beat, right? And that there has created a lot of hurt and trauma, right? Let all that go. It was part of the system at that time. Thank God it's not. Now we're going to help people to snap that stick of the emotional depression, and to express and put the stake in the ground, put the stake or the stick in the ground, and to start moving forward in their life. Because really, my mum passed away 3 months ago, and we watched her die. I watched her die, and she died at 60 years and 22 days. 60 years and 22 days. 22 comes up a lot. She's given me this message now to share to people, right? To live your life, to give more and to share more from your heart, because someday your heart will someday your heart will stop beating. It will. Either if you want to choose it to, or it will do it naturally. We aren't going to live forever. But there's a song, if you live to be 100, you'll die young. Right? We all have youth within us, and we're all going to move forward in our own ways. And if you've been inspired by Pete and me on this podcast, and if you never see us again, know this, that you really do have a unique present, which is your own life. And to go forward with that fire in the belly, that's what I'm going to do every single day. Every single day, I'm going to do my absolute best to live, to explore, to expand, to question, to let go, to cry, to go to the top of the mountain and cheer, or scream to the top of my lungs when maybe I'm depressed. Sometimes I'll get depressed. People listen to this. We all go through ranges of emotions. And fire in the belly means just being your true, authentic self, to be you. That's what fire in the belly means for me, is to be you. So have no fear. Fire in the belly is here.
Oh, I love it. It's giving me goosebumps just as you're talking about that. It's beautiful. It's totally beautiful.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Where can people find out more about you, James? I mean, you speak so many truths. You speak, there's so many powerful messages there for people. It's like, where can they find out more, follow you, hunt you down, track you, stalk you, all the above?
Yeah. So there's a page called Passing Through on Facebook. And that's the original page that I set up. And then it aligned me to Stevie J as well. Mm-hmm. So there's two pages, and I'm more now on both. But you can also look me up on Instagram, which is James McGrath 22. Mm-hmm. 22, James McGrath 22. And you'll see the journey there unfold. And, every follow, every comment means a lot. I love going live. I love doing videos, but also we're now mentoring people. We do retreats, and we're doing this now from a professional standpoint. We've helped loads of people, and we always see if people are best matched for the program. Mm-hmm. And we always find them something. If they're not best matched for it, we're really selling people on themselves. We're selling people on themselves. Mm-hmm. And for us, we have a mission and a duty to make sure that anyone who comes across our platform or ourselves and who need help and support, we'll do our absolute best. Some people are maybe on the roller coaster. We love working with people who want to lead, who want to move forward, who really aren't really engaged or in agreement with mediocre. Sometimes you are, but really who want to move forward, get their sleeves rolled up. So the page Passing Through has evolved since 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And now I've been linked with Stevie J, and now I'm on his team. So you'll find me on both of those platforms. And if you want to add me personally, add away, I'm a very open book. What you see is what you get. There's no masks here, which is persona, which in Latin means mask. And I've just got to the point now, Pete, where the shackles are off, the chains are off, and I'm now free to express and explore. So if anybody wants to look it up, it would mean the world. And also we'll put this on the platform too. So I'd say there'll be followers on this as well. From my page, check out Pete and all this material beforehand, because there's people before me on this platform and after. And give Peter as well a follow as well, because we're all here to network with each other. We're all here to connect with each other. We're all here to inspire each other and to bring each other up, because if there's separation, you're really creating that from within. Mm-hmm. So guys, check out this guy as well, Pete, and what he's all doing, because these podcasts help people. Mm-hmm. And if you can help one person, and that person goes on to help 1,000 people, well, you've helped 1,100 people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So true. It is so true. James, I'm truly grateful for coming on. I love everything you've shared here, and there's so much power in there. There's you could listen to this 1,000 times and still get a new message. So I thank you for you. I thank you for what you're doing for everyone. And listen, it's been wonderful. I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Keep it lit.
Until the next time.
Until the next time, indeed.